All right, the story of Joseph in the Bible. Are you all familiar with it? And when I say Joseph, there are a lot of Josephs in the Bible, so I understand that you might not immediately know who I'm talking about. But Joseph, one of the 12 sons of Israel, one of the 12 sons of Jacob. Most people know him by Israel. But Joseph was the favored son of the 12. You know, you can imagine, all the other brothers are going to get jealous. But today we are talking about Joseph in the Bible and him being sent down to Egypt and him revealing himself to his brothers and what all came of that. And if you're familiar with the story, Joseph, whenever he got sold into Egypt and got sent down to Egypt and he rose to prominence and his brothers came down, he didn't immediately just say, "Hey guys, it's me, I'm your brother Joseph." No, he made it tough on his brothers, very tough on his brothers, and he didn't immediately just reveal himself, but he put them through a series of events so that they came to a place where they could receive him and accept him again. Because in their minds, he was a thing of the past. He was dead, gone, long forgotten. All right, today we're going to talk about the story of Joseph and what it means in its original context and some insights that I recently discovered in that story. And I wanted to get your opinion as well, what you think of it. And then we're going to actually take a look at what the story of Joseph and him revealing himself to his brothers, how that is going to apply to Jesus revealing himself to his brothers Israel. So Joseph had a coat of many colors. You know, he was peacocking before peacocking became a thing. His father had made him a coat of many colors because he loved this son more than the others. The story of Jacob is pretty complex, and we need to think about it in their timing, and they had a completely different culture. Jacob had 12 sons from 4 different women. You know, he had 2 wives, and his wives also had handmaids, and they also bore children as well. That is how it all came about. You know, that's how the 12 patriarchs were brought into this world. The woman of Jacob's dreams, the woman his love was set on, was Rachel. Rachel bore Jacob Joseph. He's one of the youngest. He's like the youngest of the crowd, the youngest of the brothers. Day after day, their father loves him more than us. You know, there's favoritism happening. And you can see that within the brothers, there's some of them that just want to completely kill him. Others are a little bit more understanding. So it comes to a day that his brothers are out and they're out shepherding and taking their flocks everywhere. Jacob sends Joseph to go find his brothers, and his brothers plot to kill him. But then the oldest brother, Reuben, says, no, do not kill him. You can see he is a little wiser. He has a little more age on him. And instead of killing Joseph when he arrives, gets out there, so they see some slave traders coming by and going down to Egypt, and they decide, let's sell Joseph into slavery and make a little profit for ourselves. So they do that. So they sell Joseph, goes down to Egypt. He's about 16 or 17 years old when he gets sold to these guys. All right, so Joseph finds himself down in Egypt, and we're going to find out that when he's down there, that he is God's guy. He is God's guy. And I'm just thinking about this because I was thinking about this for a number of people in the Bible, because there's a lot of God's people in the Bible, but they go through extremely tough times. And we have the advantage of looking back at them and saying, man, God, he knew what he was doing. These people were so blessed, but they would have been regular people just like you and me and going through this. So Joseph doesn't have the advantage of looking years back and reading about his life on paper and knowing what God's going to do. But he's going moment to moment like we are and just trusting that God's got the best intentions for him. So keep that in mind whenever you're going through stuff, that God sees the full picture. God has the Bible written in front of him, the Bible of your life written in front of him, and he sees the full picture of what he has planned for you and what he's putting you through so that he sees the outcome, what's going to happen. So have that trust and realization, you are God's man and God's woman, that God is there. He's in control of your life. He's in control of every circumstance that he's going to throw you in. And it's tough to do. I know it's absolutely tough to do, and tough to keep that in mind. So Joseph finds himself down in Egypt. He becomes a servant of a man by the name of Potiphar. And if you've ever heard of Potiphar, he had kind of a wayward wife. I don't know. A wife that was looking other directions besides just her husband. She had her eyes set on Joseph when she saw him. Because Joseph, it tells us, he was a good-looking guy. He was a good-looking man, and she wanted to get her grips on Joseph. And we're going to find out that she did. All right, so Joseph becomes a servant of Potiphar. All right, and we're going to read in Genesis 39, 6 and 7. So this is talking about Potiphar. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and because of him, he had no concern about anything but the food he ate. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance, and after a time, his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." So over and over, she kept just coming after him, coming at him, wanted to get her daggers into him. And eventually it came to a point where Joseph was left by himself with Potiphar's wife, and she says, "Lie with me." And he runs out, leaves his cloak, and she has that in her hands. And she's furious that he got away. And so she devises a plan. She tells her husband and the other guards, this Hebrew that you brought in here, he tried to take advantage of me. He tried to come lie with me. And so Potiphar, you can see that he's probably he's mad, but he's almost probably more mad at his wife because he probably gets it, but he directs that anger towards Joseph, and he takes Joseph and he throws him in prison, He probably knows his wife's a little out there and a little scandalous herself, but he doesn't care. He takes that anger, that built up rage, and sends Joseph to the prisons. So Joseph is in prison, and when he's there, God continues to bless him, and he rises to prominence there. And the guards there understand that everything Joseph touches, it gets blessed by God and grows exponentially. And it says, the keeper, this is the guy in the jail who's kind of in charge there, the keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it succeed. All right, then later we find out that Joseph's in there a long time, and there's the cupbearer and the candlestick maker and all this, the butcher and the baker, I don't know. The cupbearer and the baker, there's these two guys in there. They're sent down into prison, and Joseph interprets their dreams, and he tells them one of them is going to be released and one of them is going to die. And sure enough, those things happen. But the one that gets released, he forgets about Joseph and goes about his way. How quickly we forget. But then years and years later, Pharaoh has a dream himself, and he asks for his interpreters to come, and no one can do it. And then the chief cupbearer, the one who had got released, and then years later, he says to Pharaoh, "I know someone who can interpret your dream." So then they call up Joseph, and Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream, and he's just a wise man. He's a wise guy. He's very smart. He's wise, wisdom, all that. But he interprets Pharaoh's dream, and Pharaoh lifts him up from the jail cell, and he says, "I'm going to appoint you ruler over all of Egypt. You're going to basically be the second in command. You're going to be my power throughout the land." From slave to prisoner to now ruler of Egypt. And it says in Genesis 41:46, Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went through all the land of Egypt. So the slave rises to power, and we find out when he's about 30 years old, there's a famine in the land of Israel and throughout all the land, because part of Pharaoh's dream was there's going to be 7 years of plenty and there's going to be 7 years of famine. So whenever the years of plenty are happening, it's during that time that he stood before Pharaoh. So his brothers came down probably when he was 30 years old or a little older than that, and they don't know who he is. They've forgotten about him. They've moved on with their lives, and they come down there to buy some food. And then this is where it gets really interesting. Joseph recognizes his brothers immediately, but his brothers don't recognize him. So what do you think Joseph would do? You'd think, hey guys, I'm here. Look at what position I have now. Look at all that God has blessed me with. But instead, he doesn't do that. He goes and puts them through a whole trial and test. And let's actually take a look at what he did to them. So his brothers come down there, and it says, and Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed of them, and he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." So Joseph, he's talking to his brothers down, when they approach him, but he's talking through a translator, so they don't know who he is. He looks completely different. He's sold to them when he was a teenager, but now he's like a grown adult, a grown man, and they don't recognize him. And so right here, it's like, because I've been thinking about this. Why doesn't he just immediately say, "I'm Joseph, look at me," Why does he not do this? And is he just getting back at his brothers for what they did to him? And instead he has this long drawn out plan. But when you're reading through it, you're thinking, is he just making it up as he goes along? Event after event of just making them question everything and making them thinking that God is out to get them. Why doesn't he just tell them, and why doesn't he just operate from forgiveness and grace and just immediately tell his brothers, "Hey guys, I'm Joseph. Look where I am now. I forgive you for everything you've done." And you would think, when I look back, when we look at this, you would think that would be the way to do it. But Joseph does not do that. And to me, I've always thought, man, that he's just kind of getting back at him. He's kind of giving them a little jab, getting back at him for all that they did to him. The more that I thought about this is, Joseph, when all this is happening, he's actually using good wisdom with what he does. He doesn't immediately, even though he probably had forgiven them in his heart, he did not forgive them outwardly. He had to almost test their natures, because all he knows is these are the guys that just sold me into slavery without blinking an eye. That's all he remembers. His brothers wanted to kill him, and he doesn't know what type of men he is dealing with. So he could have just swept it all under the rug, but he uses wisdom in going through this and actually in talking to them and seeing what type of men they are. And he tells them at first, he says, "You're spies," and because he just starts questioning them. He starts questioning them and makes them kind of reveal more and more about themselves and more about their father and more about their other brother that they left in Egypt, because Joseph did have a younger brother that was born after him. He had a younger brother, Benjamin, and who was also born from Rachel, his mother. And Rachel died when she bore Benjamin. So what he does, he says, "You are spies. If you really do have a younger brother, then go back to where you're from and bring him here, so that I can see that you do actually have a brother and you truly are brothers yourselves, so that I will know that you're not spies." So he wants to find out who his brothers truly are now, if they have changed in their heart, if they have repented in their heart, if they are not the same guys who had sold him into slavery years and years ago. But the whole point of this is, like, why is he doing this? Why is Joseph doing this? He needs to find out if they're really ready for forgiveness, because he can forgive them all day long in his heart. The more that I thought about this, the way that he does it is perfect, because if he would have just said, I'm your brother Joseph," and just forgave them immediately, who knows what they would have done? Who knows if they would have just went back to Egypt and not even told their father about Joseph? They would have just tried to just still sweep it under the rug. But instead, he sends his brothers back. They live off the food that they had brought from Egypt. They tell their father, "If we go back, we have to go back with Benjamin. We have to take him." So his brothers come back down with Benjamin, and they appear to Joseph again. And Joseph, he's still messing with his brothers, but I think it's a godly messing with. And I'm going to connect this with Joseph down in Egypt is similar to Jesus in this world right now. He is received by the Gentile part of the church, the kingdom. The times of the Gentiles are happening right now, and we have Jesus for the most part. There are some Jews that have embraced Jesus, but not all of them. Not all of them have embraced Jesus yet. And so Joseph's brothers are standing before him again. They're scared for their lives. All right. And then it says, Joseph could not take it anymore. He sends everyone out, and he's going to reveal himself to his brothers. This is a very important point, because I am connecting this. This is Jesus revealing himself to the people of Israel. And what's going to happen? There is going to be something that Jesus, he's going to take his people, Israel, his covenant people, and he's going to reveal himself to them alone, personally, But in the story, it says, so his brothers were standing before him, and it says, then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, make everyone go out from me. So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. They are completely caught off guard. They think they are very much in trouble. And Joseph reveals, hey, I'm your brother. Do you remember me? And it says, and he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. He did not know what type of men he was dealing with. He did not know if they had changed their ways. I'm bringing this and applying it to the people of Israel today. There is a blindness over them. How does Israel not see that Jesus is the Messiah? When you really think about it, how does Israel not embrace Jesus as the Messiah now? Because I mean, there are Old Testament prophecies that could not be fulfilled anymore, but only Jesus could have fulfilled them. Like, they're not even on the table anymore. There are certain things that only Jesus could fulfill. So it's like, how does Israel not see it? And I think that God is going to have a moment with the people of Israel. You could say secretly, but off to the side, that he is going to, in closed doors, make himself known that Jesus is the Messiah, and the light bulb is going to go on, and they are going to weep and just cry over the fact that they did not see that Jesus was the Messiah this whole time. It says they will weep for him as for an only son. So from this, I would say the whole holding back of not revealing himself immediately, there was wisdom in it, and it can be applied also to the revelation of Jesus Christ himself. There is wisdom of God having that blindness over the people of Israel at this time, and it says so that the fullness of the Gentiles can come in. But at the end of the ages, God is going to reveal himself to Israel. It's going to happen. But when it happens and how it happens, and I think it's going to be similar to this fact of in closed doors, have that personal, intimate connection with Israel. They are going to see who he truly is. They're going to see that Jesus is the Messiah. And this story points to that fact. This story is a type, the precursor for a future reality that is going to be the fulfillment, a greater picture of what this symbolized. You know, Jesus is the fulfillment. He is the body, the substance of all the prophecies, and everything that happened before Jesus were just types and shadows. Jesus stands as the figure in human history. And just like in the future, Jesus coming back and revealing himself to the nation of Israel, this was just a way to demonstrate that, to show what it's gonna be like. It's a shadow of what is to come. Jesus will reveal himself to the people of Israel, just like Joseph revealed himself intimately and personally to his brothers. The story of Joseph has so many intriguing elements in it because it's so pure and awesome and redeeming, and just has such a salvational application that is emblematic of even our lives today and what salvation is. The whole thing that God allows evil to happen so that redemption can occur for the rest of the world. He allows something bad to happen in his control, in his complete providence, but so that the effects of it can be received and blessed to everyone else in the world. So God allowing this evil to happen of Joseph's brothers sending him into slavery was salvation to the rest of the world. And this verse at the very end of Genesis, this could sum up the gospel itself in a sense. It says, Genesis 50:20, it says, Joseph talking to his brothers, he says, as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. That is the gospel. That is like a motion picture of the gospel. God allowed evil to happen, Jesus to be crucified, but so that the rest of the world could be saved through him and through his blood. God takes the evil and bad things in this world and he makes them good. He allows sometimes evil to happen, but he brings good out of it. And in our lives, he does the same thing. So it's just having those eyes to see what God is up to. Do you have those eyes to see what God is up to? And it's not always easy. We all sometimes have to step back a little bit and reflect and see what is God doing right now. God has the whole script of your life, and he knows why he is allowing things in your life, why he is causing you to go through certain things, because he knows the outcome. He knows the blessing that it's going to make, who it's going to make you, and how he's going to use it to bless others. So I hope this blesses you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and I will see you all in the next one.
So we hold on and enjoy the ride. After all the ups and downs, this is our time. Enjoy the ride.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Your support means the world to me, and it helps keep the content coming. Until next time, stay blessed and keep shining.